So this is the Commodore 64 that I got off eBay last week. It was sold as faulty and I tested it out and it worked pretty well actually. But I did notice that some of the games that I used on this back bit that I know work on the Commodore 64C just didn't work on this at all, usually when they got to a loading screen. So I decided to try out an actual real disk drive, 1541. And what I'll do is I'll boot the Commodore 64. I've just got a disk in there that I know works. If I just load the directory, it does nothing. And the light on the 1541 doesn't even come on. So clearly there's something wrong with the I/O ports on this. So if I just boot the computer, yeah, it does actually power the drive. So I'm going to press enter now and load the folder. And yeah, it doesn't do anything. Something's wrong there. So it's possibly one of the CIA, the complex interface adapter chips. There's two of them in here. I think one of them does the serial port and the other one does the joysticks and stuff. So I'll have a look in there now and see what's going on. So let me just unplug this. So what we've got is these two complex interface adapter chips here. One of these is going to control joystick and keyboard, I think, and stuff like that. And the other one is going to control the I/O lines to this. It might be this one that's controlling the I/O ports. I could probably tell that by pulling it out, and if the keyboard and stuff still works, then it's definitely that one. Now, the interesting thing here is this one has been replaced. Also, yeah, it's definitely replaced because it's a 65, I think this is the original one. They're all MOS parts, these, and they're all from about 1983. And this one isn't. This one is a 65, it's marked Commodore instead of MOS, and it's a 6526A. That one might be able to run faster or something. And it's got a date code of 34-week-89. So this chip is newer than all the others. I'm just wondering if maybe someone either put a dead chip in here before they sold it, or maybe this one, they replaced it to try and find the problem. But I've got a funny feeling it's this one that looks like it's been replaced. That might be the one to pull out and see if we still get keyboard, then it's definitely that chip. And what I can do is, because these chips are supposed to be identical, in theory I can swap them, but I may lose control of the keyboard at that point and then I won't be able to do the test. It might be just that I need another one of these, but maybe swapping them out. I don't know, maybe the keyboard won't work. Well, it's hard to say because I don't know what if there's a fault, I don't know what it is, and it might not be this chip. But I think maybe I'll swap them, or I'll pull this one to start with and we'll see what we get. Now I'm going to maybe attempt this chip puller, but I don't have much success with this at all, to be honest. But you have to be really careful with these things because you bend the pins really easily. It's just quite stuck. You just get it under there and just twist it a bit. There you go, it's prying it out. But you need to get it out evenly. Oop. Right, I think that came out all right. Let's see now if we can boot this without, well, it should boot without this in, no problem. We might not get a cursor on the screen. So yeah, that's without the chip in and there's a flashing cursor. I'll just try the back bit cartridge with a joystick. Yeah, so the joystick works. So that means the chip that's left in there is the one that's controlling the keyboard and joystick, and then the one I've just pulled is the one that does the I/O lines. So I would suspect that if I actually plug the drive in now and try the same test, I'll get exactly the same result as I did before. Yeah, so just like before, the drive does still power. Yeah, so my keyboard's still working. I'm actually having to hold it up though here. So let's try the same test. And, oh, so this is different. It's got no device present. So it's definitely that chip that's doing it. Yeah, so unfortunately that's a bit annoying, is that maybe I could do the swap. If we do the swap and everything's exactly the same, then it's probably not the CIA chips. So that might be the best thing to try. Just swap that one out to there and then put this one back in the other spot. If everything carries on working, then this problem isn't the CIA's, but if I don't get any keyboard or joysticks don't work or something like that, but the drive does start working, then this chip is the one with the problem. This one that's this newer one, basically, 6526A. Oh, and I just dropped it. Let's do the same thing with this other one. Let's pry it out. It's quite tough to get these chips out when they've been sitting in here for ages. Oh, there we go. To just slightly bend the pin on the way out. That's the really hard part. Like, you need to try and pull them out straight. I just didn't quite manage it. but it should be all right. Oh, it went in one end at a time, but it's in. Crunch. You know it's in because of the crunch. So, are we going to get the flashing cursor? Drive booted. We got the flashing cursor. That's interesting. This keyboard needs some work, I think, because it's really, you have to push the keys really hard. So, oh, there we go. So we have a dodgy CIA chip because now this is working. So something else must not be working now. I don't know what it's going to be. It might be the joystick. Let's just try and load Driller and make sure it works. Yeah, the keyboard does need... Oh yeah, look. So you can't see what I'm doing there, but if you're wondering why I'm not typing the 1, oh, I typed it then and it just didn't work, and then it started working. It gave me a 9. So yeah, so that CIA chip is dodgy. That's unfortunate, but if that's the problem, that can be fixed. Well, I don't need to plug a joystick in there, no. We know this is dodgy. Could just be the 1 key that's dodgy. I'm not sure that I've pressed it before. Let's see if this works. So this was impossible to load before. But yeah, so it's weird that the CIA chip was the new one. The one that had been replaced was the dodgy one. I don't know if someone put the broken one in here deliberately when they sold it, or if they were trying to fix it and they accidentally put another broken one in. But it's not the worst problem in the world to have. The computer's mainly functional. Excellent. So that didn't work before. Ah, that's excellent. I was going to retry some of the games that didn't work, but now the backbit cartridge doesn't work. So the swapping those CIAs has now caused problems probably on the cartridge port that stopped it from working. So when I hit enter there, it just disappears, and it's possible it's the enter key's not worked or something. I'm not exactly sure. So unfortunately, I can't go any further with this now. Yeah, so we've got a bad CIA chip. I think once that's replaced, this might be back to fully functional again. I will do the traditional thing of putting an X on this, and I'm going to get a replacement for that. And hopefully that'll restore this Commodore 64 back to life. So at the end of the day, this hasn't been a bad eBay score because it's sold as faulty, and it does have one fault, but the fault is in a chip that I think I can get a replacement for. If you get problems with the SID or the VIC, it's quite hard to find replacements from those. They're quite expensive if you do. Whereas the CIAs, you can actually get them. Even though these are, I think this is now the one chip that hasn't got a modern replacement. Because someone's working on the VIC, the guy who did the BM-C64, which the Raspberry Pi emulator, which I've got a video of me working on one of those, and it's really good. He's actually now making an FPGA replacement for the VIC, so that's brilliant. There's a PLA replacement, there's SID replacements, and I think all these other chips can be replaced, but these two can't. There's no replacement for those at the moment. The good news is that I can at least get one of these. So I'll get one of these and I will replace this and restore this C64, hopefully back to fully functional.